I want to share a little bit about the process that I had when I was creating a song, and then it morphed into some other things as well. So a part of the song that I was writing went like this. So just a slow riffy kind of thing. It had a definite Mateus Asato vibe to it. And as I was exploring ideas for that riff, I got into a part where I needed an intro. Now, I already knew that the chords that I was going to use were going to be E minor, and then going to a C, and then going to a G major 7, and then going to a D. But the thing is that I wanted to really start to dress things up a little bit, just make them more interesting to listen to. And that touches upon something that I started doing with a guitar instructor of mine. So this goes back, 2005, 2003, 2005. What I did with that instructor was basically, we would always look for the ultimate chord. And for most of us guitar players, we learn chords by just looking up a chord diagram, and then we learn to play it, and that's the end of it. But we did something else. So we started basically with a cage system. At the time, I could already play most of my chords, so that was not necessarily anything new for me. But what was really cool about it was that no chord was fixed in its shape. So we would just start from, what is the sound that we're after, and how are we going to get there? And to this day, I find voicings or ways to play a chord that surprise me. And it's a step-by-step process. So if you can allow me a little bit of time to explain what I mean by that. So for instance, if I have a simple C minor chord like this, right? If I want to create a little bit more mystery to it, I would add the 9th to it, for example. So that would create this shape, right? Has a super, super nice sound to it. Now, this shape isn't new by any means, although by borrowing it, it's actually most people play it over an A minor chord, but to do it as a bar chord it's a bit of a stretch. So, but once you have captured that sound, but you want that chord to move upwards a little bit, for instance, using inversions, then it can be very tricky to maintain that sound. So, and that would be what I would work on. So for instance, I have my C minor, and then if I want to play the next inversion, which is on the 3rd, I would get something like this, right? However, the 9 is not in here. So if I play the 9 here, like I did in this voicing, now I'm losing the root note. So I would try to find ways to still get all those notes in there if possible. So then a couple of days ago, I came to this voicing, and that has the 3rd, the root, the 9, and then here, the 5th. And I thought that was so cool because I don't think I've ever played that. It is a stretch, I do admit, but it's such a cool sound. So now I have this minor 9, and now I have that minor 9 chord. And just those chord sounds alone, you can play them and instantly, well, at least you would have my attention. Like when I hear that, it's like, wow, that is so good. So, of course, why stop there? So what other things can you do? So from the, when you do the 5th as a bass note, the basic try would be this, right? Which sounds good. If I add my ninth here, is okay, but now I'm losing my root note. So the root note is also here. So now I have this sound, right? And these are all awesome, awesome voicings. First one, second one, third one, right? Then the next one, and that one kind of surprised myself a little bit. So with the back to the root note, this one works really nicely as well. So you have your, which is based on your C shape. So you have your root note, your third, your fifth, and then on top, the 9. So the cool part is that instead of having like a very fixed approach to chords and chord voicings being, oh, I need a C minor such and such, or oh, I need an A major such and such, and looking it up online, looking for a chord diagram, to go into that process of discovery is absolutely the most liberating things, one of the most liberating things that you can do on your guitar, I think. And every student I do this with, and I do this with most students who get to the intermediate level. So we do this in a step-by-step way. And I can show you in this video how I do that if you're interested. To go through that process is really liberating because you're no longer dependent on a website or a chord sheet or whatever. You can create the shapes yourself, but not just that. If the shape doesn't yield the sound you want, you can start to look for other options. And most people don't do that, right? So they have like chords with very different vibes put together because they don't know how to create the proper one. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So the other thing that I was doing this week, so a student of mine is working on his triads, and we moved on to spread triads. So I'm not sure if you guys know what a spread triad is, but it's basically normal triad, but then the middle note is moved down an octave. For example, if I have, let's see, if I have F minor here in the second inversion, then the root note, the middle note there, gets transported to the bass. So you get a more spacious sounding triad. It sounds a little less like a triad, I would almost say. Right? If you would go to the next inversion, which would be your root position here, then the third would be moved down to the bass. So we get this. Right? Or this would be maybe a better voicing for it. Right? So now we have, right? Then the next one is this voicing here, which is your first inversion, right? So we have third, fifth, root, and you would drop the fifth there. Oh, sorry, the root. No. The fifth, sorry, to the bass, and you would get this one, right? So and when I heard those sounds, I was like, how would that sound if I were to incorporate that into a little chord progression? Just a simple chord progression and just moving from one inversion to the next, but using just spread triads, right? So I had something, just a simple C minor to F minor to C minor, and then to a G, right? And you can loop that into infinity. It'll never get boring. So I started doing that. So I started just on this position here, and I just started playing that that C minor chord in the second inversion. right? Now switching to my F minor. Sounds super spacious. Then on to C minor again. And now switching to G major. Right? So this is just a very simple way to play a very simple chord progression, but because you're using just 3 notes, you're starting to, so 3-note voicings, you're able to use them much more melodically rather than thinking more static. So usually when we play a chord, we're like playing something like this. It's just a simple example, right? But you're just doing, you're playing the chord and then you add a pattern to it, but it has not a lot of melodic qualities. But the spread triads and also triads, if you use smaller versions of things, they become much more movable and you can start to create melodies with the chords themselves. So I really, really like this. So then I went a step further, and that's something that I did this afternoon. And what I did was, I was like, what is a good chord progression? And then I realized that Exogenesis by Muse has such great chords in it. Such great chords in it. And a chord progression. So it was like, oh, maybe I should try and do that. So the chord progression there is a D minor, going to A, going to G minor, back to D minor. And then, quite interestingly, it goes to a C at 9, and then to something like either a B flat 6 sharp 11 or a G minor inversion. Back to C, and then G minor to A half diminished, and then C sharp diminished. Oh, sorry, A half diminished to G minor. Anyways, so I see a request for Master of Puppets. So I played that a long time ago. I don't think I could get through the first minute. My arm would fall off these days. But who knows? Maybe I'll save that one for later. Master of Puppets. Yeah, I haven't played that one in a while. Okay. So here's the thing. So if I were to use my triads for this, this is what it might sound like. So, sorry. No, wait a second. Let's add some movement to it. Sorry. That's a mistake on my end, and then back to D minor. right? So I think using something like that is a really cool way to, I don't know, to be more adventurous, I guess, with your playing. Going back to the earlier example that I gave with just the F minor and the C minor and the G, it's really easy also to add little bits of extras to that as well. So for instance, if you have your C minor, let's see. So what was the sequence? So we had C minor, and then going to F minor, and then C minor, and then G. So remember what I said about, for instance, adding the ninth to something. So you could start to expand these triads with other notes if you feel like it. So you can use them to move from one spot to the next. But once you are in a spot where you're like, hey, I could do more there. So you could do... sorry, I forgot about the the chord progressions. So again, let's see. So again, I'm getting a little bit in a pinch here. So what I'm doing here is I'm just, for instance, on the C minor triad here, I'm trying to add sort of just a melody note on the B string here. So we got... And then when I go to the inversion of the F minor chord, I can use this melody note as well, which is the major 6 on the F minor. That's right. I could even go there. Then we're back to our C minor chord. Or if I want to do the melody note on top. Those are really gorgeous chords. And I don't think I would ever reach them. Just doing my standard bit. So we would have C minor, add 9. There we go. Then for F minor, major 6, major 7. And then here we would have our F minor with an added 4. Going to just a standard C minor. And then here, either we would move to a different, we would move to a different bass note regardless. But what would be cool, for instance, for the G chord, if we would add the flat 9. So this is, so we would have... So this is your normal triad, right? So first inversion, so third, root, 5th. So I can make this one flat 9. Do you see how that just changes the vibe of the chord? Or the 7th on top. And then back to the C minor. Yeah. I really love that kind of stuff, to play around. And that's kind of what I said earlier when I was writing Left Behind, started writing that a couple of weeks ago. Everything that I did in there was basically through discovery. I started with a basic chord progression and I just started building on it. Yeah, that's kind of the main thing that I've been working on in the last couple of weeks. When it comes to playing the guitar, I've been working on a lot of other stuff. But yeah, I think that's something that's interesting for this stream. So who is still here? Maybe we can have a show of hands. Who is still active on this stream? I'm curious. And also what I would like to know is this stuff helpful? Like, is this something you'd like to know? Or is there something else? I know that there is a question for Master of Puppets, but that right now feels pretty far from where my brain is at. But Robert Cray was from the 80s. He did a song called Smoking Gun with an awesome blues solo. I would love to see you do a lesson on that. Both the rhythm and the solo. But if only one, then the solo. All right, so here's the thing. I'm hooked up to YouTube. Why don't we just check it out right now? And so at least to see what it is. Let me not make any too many promises. But you'd be perfect for this because it's blues. That is interesting. So you see me as a blues player. That's actually pretty cool. I like that. I am a lot of things. I'm not sure if let's see. So what was that again? Robert Cray, and then Smoking Gun. I absolutely don't know that. I love Robert Cray, but I don't know many of his tunes. So let's listen. Well, I'm not hearing it. Oh, sorry. There we go. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so what I can tell you already about that song something like that. I don't have all the exact notes. Is that what I really like there is that he is using a normal E minor chord, like your standard first position E minor chord, and then he embellishes it with a couple of notes. Playing the minor seventh on the third of the B string, back to open, and then the minor, not the minor nine, but the ninth in second position of the high E string to back to open. So which is, I think, a really nice find, and you don't see a lot of people doing that actually. I get a constant busy signal when I could actually put this. I have to do some screen gymnastics here to push things around a little bit. You're really cool how I can listen to on the fly and figure out. Okay, so but that is a lot of experience doing transcriptions for students and for YouTube. So that didn't just happen overnight. I literally transcribed hundreds of songs, which is a great skill to have, by the way. I recommend everybody learning to do that at one point or another, even starting with something simple, but yeah. Okay, solo. Yeah, so there is a lot going on. I assume that is the solo there. Whoa. So that's kind of what's happening there. Something like that. And then it goes to a different chord. So most of this is E minor pentatonic. So you have your box 1 with the open strings, and then that little bit that he just played is in that box 2. So there is a second solo, which is this one. Oh, that's a nice, that is what I like. That's a nice riff there. Yeah. That I can definitely appreciate a good riff like that. So for anyone listening and you're like, hey, I got some things I'd like to bring to the table, then definitely, bring it to the table. I mean, this is our moment to shine and connect. You know what? So this reminds me, because he has a very distinct sound. So that reminds me of a song.
Richard Cousins is playing.
Well, let's see if which is Right Next Door, and I always loved that song by Robert Cray. I assume you know it. Let's see.
I can hear the couple fighting right next door. Their angry words sound clear through these thin walls. Around midnight I heard them shout, unfaithful one. And I knew right then the axe was gonna fall. It's because of me.
Oh, I love that song so much. It's so good. Like, it has a good, yeah, just nice bass line.
I heard him shout, who is he? She mumbled low.
What? There's a double stop in there, but I can't. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That baby, don't you lie to me no more. And I'm listening through these thin walls, silent shame. As he called out my name, I was
Actually, it is like a. Yeah.
right next door. It's because of me.
Anyways, yeah, people are people are dropping off. They're like, hey, you start with triads and playing all kinds of soundscapes, and now all of a sudden we're in a Robert Cray festival. Solo 2 is at the end of Smoking Gun. Yeah, I'll check it out. I'm definitely gonna check that out later, and see if that is something that I could do. But yeah, so I think been playing the song To Be Alone by Hozier recently, and it's a ton of fun. Okay, so let's see what that is. To Be Alone. Hozier. Okay. Oh, he has a capo in 1, and luckily I have one here. Oh, okay, so let's see. Okay, so let's listen to it again. Yeah. Oh my gosh. The ongoing, I haven't done a ton of that lately, so I'm not super familiar. Yeah. And then how does it end there? Oh yeah. Anyways, that is really cool. That is something that I'm going to work on as well. Not necessarily the song per se, but to just have like that ongoing bass line, and then getting to a point where you're so comfortable that you can kind of let it go and just play. And just do your thing. And I think, so this could be a really cool idea, maybe for yourself. But for instance, what I've done a ton with some students is if you use your open strings, right? And sorry, here I go again. And you use your triads. So for instance, you have your A minor triad or A major. So you can do this in major or minor, but you have your A minor triad and your D minor triad. They both work over the open A string. So like, Yeah, so you can and then for instance you can have your A minor and D for over the A chord over the A string, but then you could have your E7 or E major chord. After Stream his Tiny Desk concert is worth a watch. I love his technique. Yeah. That I will check that out for sure. Yeah, so having, for instance, your open E string and then using your E7. So now you have 3 chords, 2 open strings, and you can have so much fun with it, right? Right now I'm just using Travis picking. You could use like a bossa nova pattern, so that will go like a... You get the idea, and it's so cool to play around with. Yeah, I definitely am a big proponent, not an opponent, but a proponent of Triads. And then like what he does, I'm assuming Hozier is not his actual word, but you've never checked Bossa Nova is so amazing. So the really cool part about Bossa Nova is that if you listen to the real Bossa Nova, like the stuff that comes from Brazil, the harmonies are super rich. So you have incredible harmonies, and gorgeous melodies. But the rhythm is there is just something about that rhythm. That is, it's not square. Everything just feels very fluid and in motion, and it has such a calming feel to it. I've played a lot of live gigs, and any gig you play Bossa Nova, of course not on in a rock concert, but people enjoy it so much. They enjoy it so much. There's usually an instant connection. Other things you could look into is like Argentinian folklore, like chacarera and all that kind of stuff. There's so much cool stuff in there as well. Rhythms you've never really heard in that way. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely worth diving into, and YouTube is an awesome place to do that. I haven't played a lot of Argentinian stuff lately, but I've listened to it a lot years ago when I was still studying at the conservatory. But yeah, that is a cool song. That is really cool. Well, I'm here doing the live stream, so I wish everybody were like adding their bits to it. Like if everybody just joins in for the chat, with just like 5 people, well, 3 people in this case, like you can have like a really good stream and a really good night, because I can dive into anything. Well, I didn't dive into the Master of Puppets thing, but it just felt a little too far away from what I was doing earlier. And I didn't want to set that metal tone in the beginning. But yeah, I can get into anything, and I just love music in general. So on that note, no pun intended, actually. Yeah, what would be other good things? So for instance, a really cool tune from what is it? Ellis. Okay, so this is one that I played a long time ago. I don't think I can play it again. Well, maybe I can.
No sertão da minha terra, fazenda é o camarada que...
Hold on, so... I still remember. So I haven't played this literally in 30 years. And I can actually still find the notes. That's pretty amazing.
O sertão da minha terra, fazenda é o camarada que ao chão se deu. Fez a obrigação com força, parece até que tudo aquilo ali é seu.
I forgot that part. So this is okay. So this is a good way to come back into what I was doing earlier. So you couldn't get these chords from a chord diagram. You just couldn't. This is someone who has been exploring on the guitar. So you have the first one. Let's drop the capo for a second because that makes it easier to pinpoint. So this is basically A major add 9. Then it goes to basically like a G over A in a way. But because of the open strings, there is so much nuance to it, right? Then they go to A major 7 A major 9 in that case. Right? That G sharp is definitely adding something that and then it goes from that A major 7 add 9 to what is it? A minor 9. And it's just all these sounds that they're playing, they're not coming from, I'm going to play a C minor and then this. These are sounds that they found together and then this one has a really nice, right? That crunch in there, right? Yeah. I forgot what the next bit was. I should learn to play that song again. But yeah, as you said, a really interesting and lovely sound. So if you take anything away from tonight, is do a lot of exploring on the guitar, because we always think that, well, people have been playing guitar for so long and we kind of know all the chords. I don't really think that is true. I think there are still chords out there to be discovered, and maybe you're going to be the one who's going to do it. I mean, this one, which, I mean, I can understand. I know what it is. So this is like A major 7 sharp 11, right? But few people like play it that way. And most people wouldn't pair it with an A minor 11 chord. But how it progresses, this whole thing is just really cool. Let's just listen what the next bits are. So I have to put on the capo again.
Fez a obrigação com força.
Okay.
Parece até
Yeah.
que tudo aquilo
Yeah, so kind of to a diminished sound.
ali é seu.
Oh yeah.
Só poder sentar no muro.
you know what I'm amazed about is that after 20 years, because it's 24, yeah, this is 20 years ago at least. When I was playing this song, that's actually longer ago. That was more like the end of the 90s. So anyway, so over 20 years ago is that I hear the sound and I instantly have a memory recollection of what it is, like how I play it. And that touches upon something actually that I think is really interesting. Something that I've talked about with some people in the last couple of weeks, which is how do you store information, right? When we're learning a song, everybody has their own way of learning, right? So some people say they're visual learners, other people need to do it themselves, that kind of stuff. And I have thought a long time about like what my learning style is, because I've used different learning styles over the years. And I've had periods where my progress was really high, like I learned a lot in a short amount of time. And there were moments where I wasn't, where I put a lot of effort into it, but the results weren't there. And I've discovered something really interesting. So when I learn a song like that song, I love that song. That song really captivates me. And I really let the sound of the guitar, in this case, come in, and I really experience like the emotion that it brings with it. And rather than trying to learn a pattern from numbers or notes or whatever, or trying to get a chord diagram in my brain, I try to attach my hand movements and my hand shapes to the emotion that it creates. Does that make sense? I think that is how I learn. I always learn with the music, the original music right there, if I'm learning somebody else's music, right? So if I'm learning like this song, I would have it there, I would listen to it, I would play along to it, and I would really try to feel that as I'm practicing. And yeah, I think I more so attach the motions of my fingers to the sound of the music and to the emotion that it creates, rather than doing it from a paper. So every time I work from a paper, my progress is actually quite slow. So what I always try to do if I do work from a paper is I try to turn it into music as fast as I can. So usually, and I tell, if there's any student, well, there's only 2 people right now, but if there's any student of mine right now watching, they'll tell you I've set this, like I say this every lesson, well, not every lesson, but a lot, is that if you have a large piece, just focus on the first 2 bars and get them to sound as if you're going to be playing those 2 bars alone for a concert. So you want to really nail those 2 bars, because in the first 2 bars, you're going to, first of all, set the bar for the rest of the piece you're going to play, right? So if that is of a high quality, you don't want that to drop. So you'll be motivated to put the next 2 bars through the same pace. Now, if you've done 4 bars like that, usually in the first 4 to 8 bars of a song, well, depending on the kind of music you play, but you've already grasped some really key elements of the music you're learning in that moment. And that carries over to the next one. So as you go along, things will start to get easier and easier and easier and easier, and progress will go faster. So in the beginning, it's slow, but you're just setting the bar there, right? And then afterwards, you'll start to pick up tempo because you already know the picking pattern, or you already know the chord sequence, or you already know whatever it is, right? So now it's just figuring, like plotting the nuances in the piece. Let's see. I'm only playing around a year and a half. More seriously, I'm branching out on music. Has been the best way I've learned. Yeah. So that is really cool. So fun fact. When I decided I wanted to study music, I needed a guitar instructor, and my first guitar instructor basically said, I don't just want to teach you how to play guitar. I want to educate you music culturally as well. So every week, he gave me a cassette or a record of some music, and he said, you have to listen to it 3 times from front to back, like completely listen to it with attention. I want you to do that. And then at your lesson, we're going to have a chat about what you listen to, what you think, and whatnot. And we did that. And I think pretty much every lesson we had, I got new music home to listen to. And it really opened me up to basically appreciate everything there is. I can listen to Balkan music. I can listen to Arabic music, South American music. It just doesn't really matter to me anymore. If I don't understand what they're singing, so I don't know the language, that doesn't bother me at all. And I think that's a really good thing to do. So you branching out into different types of music, I think you're going to be a better player because of it. And I don't know if you write music, but if you have a lot of different styles to draw from, each style has its characteristics. And if you are, fairly well versed in a bunch of styles, then those things will start to merge inside of you. And then when you start writing, it's going to become something new and awesome. Mateus Asato is very different. It's virtuoso, but many times in a very different way. A lot of the stuff that he plays in the beginning, I had to adjust to as well. The best way to play them more fluently and look more effortlessly, dare I say it, is practice. Practice. A lot of practice. Like I said earlier, instead of trying to play the whole thing all the way through, just work on, for instance, the first 4 bars. So when he did what was that one? I think it was that one. And then, what was it? I forgot. Oh yeah, that is it. So you would have those 3, and then you would just start to put those on repeat. Now, of course, you don't just blindly repeat. So what you want to do is you want to analyze, right? You want to analyze what you're doing. So if there's a specific section that's not going well, so let's say you're playing this, so and you're getting into trouble here, then you want to research why that is. So maybe it is something that you're doing here that is causing the issue there. Maybe you need to rethink the fingering of it or the picking part, or it's the analyzing of what's happening. If it's consistent and it's hard to get past it, you have to really push the brakes and start to look, maybe even record yourself on video. That helps. Or take lessons. If you have a teacher in the area, you can do that as well. But that is, that's what I would do.